Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for spending your Tuesday evening with us. We're very excited and grateful for you to be here to learn a little bit more about our multimedia pathway here at District 214. So tonight, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'll be the moderator. My name is Erin Teresi. I'm the early college program supervisor here at District 214. We have an amazing panel for you. So I'm going to start off by having everyone introduce themselves. Please introduce yourself and identify your name, role, the organization with which you are affiliated, and then we'll just go around. So Kevin, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Kevin Medelsky. I'm a English teacher at Elk Grove High School. I teach dual credit speech, and I also teach multimedia, what we're all here for today.
Awesome. Thanks. Angela, we'll flip it over to you.
Hi, my name is Angela Ferraza. I'm the student success coach at John Hersey High School, and I'm excited to be on the panel.
Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Stephanie Kim. I am the public relations person for D214. I am also a former TV journalist, so I was a reporter and a producer.
Matt.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Matt Gill. I'm the chair of the School of Communication and Journalism at Eastern Illinois University.
And then Quitman.
Hi, I'm Quitman Farmer. I go by Q though.
Okay.
I'm lead metaverse architect for Quid Animations. It's a company I started in 2014.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. We're going to dive in a little bit into what the multimedia pathway is, and then we will get back to the panel with some great questions that we have for them. So multimedia is a 4-year pathway, and a pathway is really just a sequence of courses that students can take here at District 214. We package it up together for them, and it gives them a great introduction into the world, in this case, of multimedia communications, and then kind of helps them build those skills and really affirm their choice in multimedia. And then by senior year, a student has the ability to take capstone coursework. So it is a 4-year sequence, but there are lots of entry and exit points. So if you were to start off in another pathway, let's say, and realize that you wanted to switch into multimedia, we'd highly recommend that you talk to your counselor, of course, but a good place to start is always Introduction to Multimedia Communication. So it doesn't mean that you have to take that as a freshman. You can take that sophomore or junior year if you're just finding out about multimedia and you're a little bit into your high school career right now. That's totally fine. Introduction to Multimedia Communications is always a great course to start off with. And then you can kind of figure out with your counselor and your teacher at your home school which course in the sequence would be great for you to go into next. Senior year, we have a capstone that offers dual credit with Eastern Illinois University, and that is why we're so excited to have Matt Gill here today to talk a little bit about that. So if you're interested in finding out more about the programs and pathways, which you just saw, just the multimedia one, there's 39 full pathways built out at District 214. So if you want to look into the 38 other ones or find out a little bit more about multimedia, on that last slide, it showed career-related electives, other courses you could take. It kind of gave you a breakdown of what you could major in, just some ideas have been put together for you. You can always go to d214.org. Go to academics up at the top, then go down to academic programs and pathways guidebook. You'll see this little clip art of the academic programs and pathways guidebook that you're showing over on your right side of your screen. Click on that and it'll bring you to not only all of the pathways, but also all of the course descriptions, a bunch of exciting information about dual credit courses and all of the things that are kind of built into our pathways programs. So now I think we can get back to our panel, that we have like an understanding of what's going on in the multimedia pathway with District 214. I think I would ask each of you to describe your background. And if you could tell us a little bit about your educational and professional experiences, kind of like, how did you get here, right? What is your career? What's it been like? And then if you could highlight some of the cool things you've done in the multimedia world, which I know is a big one, I think that would give the students and parents a good idea of some of the things that they could look forward to. So why don't we start with Q?
Absolutely. You know, when you're a kid and they ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said an artist. And I kept to that pathway my entire life. Well, I deviated a little bit. I went to other industries. However, it always was in the multimedia areas of work. So in high school, I got an opportunity. I was too advanced for some of the fine art classes. I petitioned to my instructors what would be the best. Or initially, it was, can you give me more advanced curriculum? And it's like, unfortunately, no. But there is one class you can audition for. I'm not sure if they'll accept you because we're too far in. I'm like, well, if you set it up, I'll do my best. And it was for an animation class. I didn't even know our high school even offered it. And so I was 3 months behind. I had the audition, I get the audition, and I have to catch up. So reading books this thick at night, I didn't even have the software. The software costs too much, but I was able to come in early and I didn't take lunch, through high school. So I went straight to the class so I can catch up with everyone. Loved it. Graduated high school, actually went into construction. My dad got me a job that actually helped me when it came time to go to college. My degree is in applied science of animation. So you're talking about every spectrum of media, from voiceovers to games to computer animation to fine art to motion graphic, the whole gamut. When I graduated, I was freelancing my senior year, all my senior year, and it actually propelled me to actually open up my company. That's how my company began, because I networked with so many of my instructors who were working designers and developers. They were able to put me onto their clients, and that gave me a boost to be able to start my own company. And this was actually, I graduated in 2012. I officially opened our doors in 2014, and we've been running ever since. Some of the noteworthy projects. So I'm pretty sure most of you have heard the buzzword metaverse. Well, I was one of the first few companies in 2012 working in metaverse. It wasn't really called metaverse then. It was basically virtual reality using the Oculus Developer Kit 1, creating communication channel in a virtual plane. And we were able to do that because of my background in architecture, and I was working with companies in Europe to do so. And that has propelled us. Right now, we're doing metaverse for history. And also, we actually just signed a contract with one of the major golf centers around here to do some amazing things for them. So a lot of really cool projects. We also took on an intern over the summer where she brought in her artwork. So she was someone who doodle and draw, and we were able to show her how to take that, apply it into the software, and be able to create motion within a week. And it was a great experience. So
that is awesome. We'll come back to you to learn more about kind of how our interns would be able to partner with you, but we're so glad that you are one of our industry partners. That is incredible. Let's skip over to Angela. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and kind of, what you've done in the multimedia world, kind of how you got here too, and then what you do in the multimedia pathway? I think that'd be helpful. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm old. Hi. I want to echo your sentiments. No one is happier about having Q as a partner than I am. Somebody who tries to work with kids in the school. Having him as a partner is amazing and has really helped our kids. So my name is Angela Ferraza. I did an internship actually for a law firm and decided that I hated it. And so my political science major was somewhat wasted. I had gone to Arizona State on an athletic scholarship and assumed I would come back to Chicago and do this internship and be a lawyer. And that was not to be my career path, because it turns out I like to have fun, and being a lawyer is a very serious profession. Not for me at all. I ended up working eventually at the Golden Apple Foundation, where I was the director of development for a little over 10 years and got to produce their show, the Golden Apple Awards, which you'd see on WTTW Channel 11. It was an absolute honor and privilege to work with these amazing teachers, but more so, we worked with scholars, and the Scholars Program puts kids in underserved populations where they're teachers for 5 years, and then they kind of pay off their debt to us. So we pay for their schooling, and then they're teachers in these schools, and they become amazing teachers because they're mentored by these award-winning teachers. It was a wonderful partnership. That led me to my current career, where I'm a student success coach at Hersey. I get to find the kids who are interested in doing internships and apprenticeships outside of Hersey. It's a new program that we offer where you can do a 30 or 60-hour experience doing something hands-on that the kid themselves is interested in. So a student can come to me and say, I'm interested in programming a game. I'm interested in being a vet tech assistant. Today I was asked if we have anything that we can do with reptiles. There is no question that I haven't been asked, and that is my favorite part about the job, because kids are really being encouraged to dream big. And the neatest thing about our job is that we can fulfill those things. As one of the biggest school districts in the state of Illinois, we have over 1,000 partnerships in the community, which is an amazing resource to have, to be able to call on somebody to say, we have a student that's extremely interested in what you do. Would you be willing to host them? It is a privilege to sit where I get to sit, because not only do I get to talk to them in the very beginning, but I talk to them at the end. And there's nothing more mature than a 17-year-old that can look at you and say, I didn't love my internship, but I didn't hate my internship. And I'm really grateful to have had the experience because, and I get to hear all those stories. There isn't a bad one in the bunch. Our hope here is that by doing an experience, they get closer to figuring out what they want to do, and then they don't change their majors 3 times or waste their time being in a law internship that doesn't fit their personality or their job career. So that's where I am. That's how I got to where I am right now.
Awesome. Yes, it's just as important to figure out what you don't want to do as what you do want to do while
Absolutely.
you're at District 214. Sticking with 214, Kevin, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background? I know you teach in the multimedia pathway, maybe go through some of the courses too.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually majored in journalism. I went to the University of Missouri with a sports journalism degree. I'm from the Chicago area, but I went down to Mizzou. I interned actually at the Daily Herald, St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I interned at Sports Illustrated as well while I was working there. So I was kind of in the sports world, but I still had a hand in a lot of the different worlds of journalism, like multimedia, photography, just because nowadays you really have to know a little bit of everything. And so I left Mizzou with a journalism degree, and I got a job as a business reporter at Louisville Business Journal, Louisville Business First. And I just found it wasn't for me. It was shortly after I graduated, I decided I wanted to come back home. Still wanted to do something in media. I was like looking at PR jobs, like public relations, and then looked into teaching, started subbing, loved it, got my teaching license, and sure enough, here I am teaching it. So when I started at Elk Grove, though, I'm in my 5th year here at Elk Grove. When I started, it was just journalism, basically. It was journalism classes. Other schools had like a media tech type class too, yearbook as well. Now it's all at our school kind of morphed under one umbrella. So I was teaching the newspaper side of things, but now I have a co-teacher as well. And together we teach newspaper, yearbook, photography, podcasting, broadcasting, and videography, and literally anything else. So a lot of the intro level classes, like intro to multimedia communications, they're kind of more of a survey class. You kind of dip your feet into all the different areas of journalism. Hey, let's learn how to write a news story. Interviewing and news writing are often the first 2 units we cover immediately, just because that's the backbone of a lot of the other type of media we learn how to do. And then we kind of morph into podcasting, into videography, and we also do a lot of stuff outside of school. So obviously within the class, we publish the student newspaper, the yearbook at the end of the year. We have students who work on a podcast, and then videos and broadcasting as well that we publish on Vimeo. So if you've seen at all any of the football games or soccer games that we've broadcasted this fall, and not just us, but all the District 214 schools, That's student work. Those are students on the microphone, behind the mixing board, on the production, behind the cameras, and we've actually been able to collaborate a lot. So like we had a game at Wheeling High School. We sent a couple kids to Wheeling High School to help them out in their broadcast. We had a game against Prospect at home. Prospect had a couple kids come over to our school and help out. So it's a really neat way that we've kind of morphed from just this one class that I taught, just print journalism, and now it's a million different things. So it's been pretty cool.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. Matt, let's switch over to you. Could you give us a little bit more details on your background? Like, what'd you major in? What'd you do before coming to Eastern?
Sure. Actually, I majored in advertising and public relations as an undergrad.
Okay.
And then I went out and I worked for a few years, and I made the decision to go back and get my master's degree. And I think a little bit like Kevin was saying, I got into the classroom, and that sort of unbeknownst to me, became the thing that I really enjoyed the most. And so I stayed and got my PhD and ultimately became a professor. And that led me really, a number of years later now, to the role in which I am in, as chair. And so now we get to work with, so many different students. We have over 300 students in the School of Communication Journalism alone. And they have such varied interests, and they get to do such cool things. And so from my perspective as sort of a college educator, and also as, in a lot of ways, a college administrator, seeing the different aspects of what they get to do and getting to have some of them in classes and see them as they, maybe begin on air and then decide that they really want to do print, or vice versa, or the students who get involved with, social media, or ultimately end up in different kind of PR roles, which is, I am a PR professor. So there's lots of different avenues that our students get involved in the media. And so it's a real fun part of the way in which we get to do things where I am.
Excellent. Let's finish this up with Stephanie. Can you, I know you have a very interesting background, so can you tell us like what you majored into, and then kind of your work experience so far?
Yeah, so I went to the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and quite frankly, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So my freshman year, I thought I was going to be a dentist. So I took a bunch of science classes like biology and chemistry, and realized real fast that I am not good at science and I hate science. And so by my sophomore year, I'm like, I need to find something else. And I've always loved watching the news as a kid, and I was always a good writer. And so I kind of figured, why not give journalism a shot? And that's where I really thrived. I was always good at the visual stuff. So I nailed the shooting and like the writing. So I found that this was it for me. So while I was in college, I also had 3 internships. I had 2 internships at the local TV stations down there. I believe one was an ABC and one was the CBS affiliate down there. And then I also had the opportunity to intern at CNN in Atlanta. So that was really awesome, where I took a semester off of school and I went to Atlanta to follow a reporter and follow producers and shadow them and watch them for a whole semester. And so through those experiences, that's what helped me land my first job. So I spent 2 years in Des Moines, Iowa as a reporter. Some highlights there were covering a lot of politics because of the Iowa caucus. And so I got to meet basically all the Republican candidates, like all 16 of them. I also got to meet Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So those are some highlights from working in Iowa as a reporter. And then after that, I moved to another city. I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, and I was a TV reporter there for another 2 years. Some highlights that were covering 3 hurricanes. That's always fun, covering severe weather. And then ultimately, I wanted to come home. I grew up in the Chicago area, grew up in Schaumburg, actually. And so I made the switch from being an on-camera reporter to being a TV producer behind the scenes. And so it was my job to basically be the one to pick the stories that you see in that 30-minute or hour newscast. And so I most recently worked at NBC Chicago as a morning show producer, and that entailed waking up at like 11 or 11:30 p.m. and starting my shift at midnight and working till 7 a.m. So I did that for almost 3 years. And that's what led me to my current job, which is the public relations spokesperson for District 214. And quite frankly, it's because I was tired of working from midnight till 7 a.m. So that's why I made the switch.
Well, we're glad to have you. Thanks for being here too. Okay. So now that we kind of have a little bit of an idea that there's a ton that you can do in multimedia, Kevin, why don't we start with kind of like, I think you touched on the coursework a little bit, but as a student is deciding, like, is this pathway for them? Do you want to go into a little bit more, like kind of what you're covering in some of the courses, and really like what skills are students going to learn by the time that they wrap up with us their senior year?
Yeah, for sure. So like I mentioned earlier, the first class you take, the first two really, intro to multimedia communications and advanced multimedia communications, are kind of survey classes. And what I mean by that is you try a little bit of everything. It's kind of a way for you to get a feel, one, to know the skills of writing, story structure, interviewing, but then also the technology side, right? Podcasting equipment, videography, how to shoot video, how to take pictures, how to do maybe 3 of those things at once, once you get good at all of them. And the second semester as well, that advanced multimedia communications, is really just building off of that. You get a little bit more time to kind of explore the things you want to do, while still learning some classroom instruction on the skills that are required of you to be a someone who might work in the media field as a journalist, or whatever you decide. There's a component to a lot of the classes called fieldwork. The intro level classes have 5 hours of fieldwork, and all that means is, did you do real world media stuff outside of the classroom? So did you help broadcast at a football game? Great. That probably is like 3 hours of field work. You did 3 hours of legitimate, professional, real world experience. And then as you progress through, like let's say you start as a freshman, your sophomore year, your junior year is going to be all you, basically. It's all the projects you decide you want to pitch and how to tell them. And then my co-teacher and I are kind of like giving you feedback, editing, giving you tips on how to improve your work, and then assessing you on how much you grew, and how well you can reflect on your work and be able to, build off of those skills. Like I said, we teach news writing, profiling, interviewing. That's kind of the foundational skills, but also, like I said, photography, podcasting, editing, videography, and even the Adobe suite, like learning Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Those software platforms are instrumental in what we do in class. So it's a little bit of everything. Even if you don't like being on in front of the camera, you can be behind it. If you like being, if you're very extroverted and like being, and like to talk a lot, do play-by-play for broadcasts. And so there's something for everybody in these classes, which is why I love them. It's sometimes hard to keep track of what everybody's doing sometimes, between all of our classes, but that's just kind of a little glimpse of what we do. But like I said, it gets a little bit more independent and centered on you as you progress through the program, which I love.
I mean, it sounds like a ton of hands-on experience, which is awesome. And then I'm going to switch back to Matt. Could you talk about, I know the students go through all of that hands-on experience, probably freshman through junior year, sometime in there. And then senior year, they're able to take a dual credit course through Eastern. And I'm wondering, could you just give us like a little bit of an idea of what that course is like, and then kind of how it would help a student along on their path in college to getting a degree somewhere in the multimedia universe, I guess?
Yeah, sure. We talked for a long time about what class to sort of use as the dual credit course in this pathway. And I think a lot of the reason that we settled on the mass comm class is because of its sort of breadth and what it covers. And so really, I mean, if you look at it just from a college perspective, it is a course that provides a really wide foundation for sort of, how did this stuff develop? How is it working today? Where do we go with it? And we can use that foundation as sort of a launching point for a whole variety of different courses and different majors, from our perspective. So whether you're interested in broadcast journalism or sports and media relations or television video production or public relations or any of these sort of media focused or media adjacent majors, it's something that is providing a foundation, right? So, from all the way back from radio and TV to sort of the multimedia and then all the stuff that we deal with today. So it's a good jumping off point for a lot of different students. And I think one of the things that it does for us is, and other universities as well, is it doesn't confine a student to one particular pathway. It gives students an option to say, well, let me come in, get this knowledge, understand how all this background works. And then from that, maybe I can make a more informed decision about exactly what direction do I want to go, right? Do I want to go into journalism? Or would I be more comfortable in television production? Or do I want to do more social media oriented content creation or the like? And so it provides some of that background that helps our students at least make a more informed decision about where they're ultimately going.
So what are, since we're on you, some of the things that you find that students could major in? Because I think that's important to start thinking about when you're in high school. And I know you're laughing because there's so many. So maybe you can name a couple, and then everyone else has experience in the field. I mean, we already heard what Q got his degree in. So there are so many different ones, but if anyone wants to jump in after and name some other areas, I think that's helpful for students to know, just to have in the back of their heads.
Yeah, so I mean, just within our School of Communication and Journalism, we have 11 different majors and 13 minors. So there's always a lot going on. And a lot of that's kind of mix and match, right? So if you think about, or the way in which we always think about it is, okay, what's the main skill set and knowledge base that I want to have as a student when I graduate in order for where I'm going to go to work? I think you already heard as people talked about their backgrounds, there is a lot of flexibility. There's in the skill sets and the knowledge that these different areas are providing. So maybe you start in journalism, like Stephanie, and then find your way into public relations. And I know Kevin mentioned looking at PR jobs before ending up in teaching. And so the skill sets are really transferable and they're really enduring. And so we try to make sure that all of our coursework and all of our classes, regardless of major, are accomplishing sort of those key goals. If you think about what you can major in, probably the stuff that's most directly related to what we're talking to tonight, we have journalism and broadcast journalism, sports media relations, which is our sports journalist program. We have public affairs reporting. I think Angela mentioned being a political science major at some point. So we have a lot of students who double major in public affairs reporting and political science because they want to be reporters that do sort of government watchdog stuff. Television video production is more content creation, a lot more behind the scenes. How do I build this stuff? Certainly public relations, particularly for the students there, we do a lot of social media, a lot of strategic social media, whether nowadays, we don't tie it too much specifically to platforms because the platforms are always so changing and evolving. But right now, that's a lot of Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. Our students are getting a lot of jobs in those places. One of the things that we do, though, is we make sure to instill them with sort of the strategic principles, not just the creation principles. So how do you build this, but then how do you use it strategically on behalf of an organization or others or yourself so that you can use them as tools to help achieve goals? We also talk about the comm studies major, having multiple options there. Certainly the mass communication option would be connected to this one. And then even our health communication degree for students who want to work specifically in there runs a lot of campaigns, puts together a lot of media, obviously, and can find ways to work in these spaces. So we use those sort of majors as the base of everything, and then our students minor in all sorts of things. I mean, within the school, strategic social media communication or advertising and photojournalism, all sorts of stuff. And then we have very close partnerships, quite honestly, with other programs across the university who are in similar spaces. So like the School of Technology runs a digital media program that's a little bit more, that's technology focused, not content focused, right? So for the students who want to learn how to build an app or probably do some of the animation stuff, for example, that Q was talking about earlier, they probably start over there and then figure out how they use us as to round out their education. And so we have real close relationships. I think Kevin was talking about hands-on work a little bit in the high school classes. That will not stop. We are very committed to doing the thing. Your classes, I always tell parents and students when they come and visit, your classes provide a wonderful foundation, but it's about half of your education. The other half is going out and doing all the stuff that we have connected to that, whether that's WEIU or helping out with the ESPN Plus trucks when they come to campus, or doing the play-by-play for the Olympic sports for ESPN Plus, or running the cameras and being on the radio. So we have a lot of those experiences, and if the students aren't engaging in those, they're really missing out on a lot of really great opportunities. But I think from a major standpoint, that's kind of what we're offering that makes sense in the media space.
Sounds like the sky's the limit. There's a ton out there, right? And I think why we're so thankful to be partnered with Eastern is that this multimedia pathway would just allow you to like seamlessly transition into college with that introduction to mass comm, college credit from Eastern. Like you can go major right into one of these, and you're so prepared, right? Because we do have so many hands-on experiences and internships, which I want to talk to Angela about in a second, and you have that as well. So I feel like we're giving a good foundation, and then can hand you the students that are ready to major in all of these things and then eventually get out into the workforce.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And when students come to us, we want them involved day one. And so one of the real unique aspects a lot of times of our program is that students can, from the first day, participate in the things that we're talking about. So you don't have to wait to junior year to be a part of WEIU and get on television and be working the cameras or being in the control room. You don't have to wait to get involved with the ESPN Plus or working for athletics or the Daily Eastern newspaper or the Warbler yearbook or any of this stuff. We do all that stuff day one because we do a lot of teaching outside the classroom as well. And so the students can really have those opportunities the moment they step on campus.
Which is great. Angela, I wanted to ask you if you could give, and I want to be cognizant of time, we've got 10 minutes left, kind of like some of the internships that you know of, like where can a student go get work-based learning experience when they're in the multimedia pathway?
So if I can back up just a little bit, I love that Matt just gave me my new slogan in life. This is where they do the things. And that's exactly what we do. For the people that don't know who are in the chat, this program, and I'm extremely biased, I have the best job in the entire building. I get to work with kids who want to do internships or apprenticeships, and that means they come to me looking for an experience outside of Hersey. District 214 has invested a lot of money in determining that this is what's going to help specifically our juniors the most. Kids in college change their majors, 70% of them change their majors 3 times. If we can have just a little bit of a hand on that to change that to 2 times or even 1 time, we've saved that child a lot of time, energy, money. They don't have to do as many detours. So the idea here is if they can get a handle on what they want to do, even a little bit before they get to college, and even if that experience means it's not what they want to do, it's they have an experience and they decide, nope, I think I like business, but what it turns out is I like marketing. And what I really like marketing is about design. So now we're on a completely different pathway. So when this works best, juniors come to me. This program is for anyone over 16. When it works best, it's for juniors. They come to me, we have a conversation, and I'm going to give you a success story, and I promise to keep it under time. I get to work with kids all day. They tell me, this is what I think I'd like to do. And spoiler alert, 99% of them start with, I don't really know. I don't know. And then we start talking and we get to know each other and they say, okay, this is what I like. Or they say, what I really like is business. And then what it turns out is they don't really like business at all. They just like the idea of having an office, but then we get to what they really want to do. In this specific case, I worked with a student who was sheepish about her interest in animation. And what I found out was she was kind of apologetic because she said, I know you just don't have that stuff. I know you have health science and nursing. I know you have lawyers. There's a lot of things, but I'm interested in animation and I know you don't have that. And I encourage, as all the student success coaches do, and there's one of me in every building, talk more, say more. I don't know about it, but what does 2D animation mean? How is it different than 3D? How did you get interested? What does it mean to have to build this 2.5 minute short that you're talking about? And when she started talking about her dream company, it is exciting to be in a room with a student who has decided what she wants to do and just wants that opportunity. When she says to me, there is a company in Park Ridge that is just the dream, I would do anything to work for them. They've done this, and she gets her computer out and she shows me. None of this, all of it is over my head. None of it makes sense. She's talking about these different programs she wants to learn. But what she did was communicate with me the name of a company and an opportunity she'd like to have. And because I work for D214 and I'm in the position I am, I got to pick up the phone and call her dream company. And within a day, thank you, Q, they had agreed to take on our intern and to have the experience of telling a student, do you know that company you talked about? We have a spot for you, and here's your employer. That's life-changing. It is absolutely life-changing because it confirmed to her experience was outstanding, and I'd love for Q to just share a little bit about it. She wants to work. She met her dream company as a 17-year-old. She was excited to show me after the summer was over what they help her build. She has a whole cartoon short of a subway, and it's awesome. I'm so impressed with her, and I'm more even impressed with the program and how limitless it is. We can help your student find their path when they're 17 or even 18 so that they can figure out what they want to do when they're 18, 19, 20. And it might even affect what college they go to. It might affect if they go to college at all. These are really big decisions that they're making with almost no experience. So the opportunity we're giving them to have a hands-on experience or 2 or 3, because we don't put limits on it, within their between 16 and 18 graduation, I think is priceless. And I'm really proud to be a part of it. So I don't want to take up any more time. If Q, you want to talk about this student's experience or anything at all, it's one of my favorite things. I love seeing her in the hall.
Absolutely. So
I also, oh, sorry, Q, could you also just talk like within this about kind of like what a student in this that's interested in this should do to prepare for a career with you, with like in the field, anything like, I don't know, skills that you could talk to that I think that'd be helpful.
Well, that's very difficult to say. I was going to say that because, okay, years ago when I graduated, people like, what do you do for a living? I say, oh, I'm an animator. They're like, oh, that's great. I'm like, do you know what that is? They no. So I started telling people, well, I get to play all day. Now, when an adult hear that, they light up, right? Oh, tell me more. Well, I get to make games. I get to make apps. You know, the things you play on your phone, all of that, the UI system, I created all of that. Then it started to connect with people. I say more so it's about your skill set. I have students, for example, never drew anything in their life. Say, oh, I suck at stick figure. So do you know your alphabets? I teach kids how to draw figures and characters using their ABCs. I'm like, if you can write your ABCs, you can draw. So it's more so about what your skill set is. Traversely, I have a student that is into 3D gaming, right? Don't know how to draw. That doesn't even matter because 3D has no bearing on 2D or no bearing on the skill set of 2D animation, right? They're a part of, they're just pieces of a whole. It's more so about what you thrive to. For example, I have a colleague, we graduated at the same time, same degree, took the same courses. He mixes colors all day. That's his profession. He's been doing it for the last 5 years. He love it. Love it. All he does is mix colors. That's what he do for companies. He create color theory. So he took color theory classes we took in college and ran with it so good that he is an expert So when people call him, he just makes colors for them. Whatever the mood is, he's going to put it together. So it's more so about what your interests lie. The curriculum for what we do, that's why it's multimedia. It's really at your discretion. What we do is we look at that and apply the tools and the skill set. So we'll, for example, with the student in question, she said to us, hey, I draw a lot in my book. I say, perfect. I saw one of the drawings. I took a picture on my phone. I transferred that from my phone to my computer. And within less than 5 minutes, I made motion. I made the head move and I made a couple of things, characters jump. She was amazed. It drew connection to her mind. I can do that. Oh, I can't do that. I'm like, within the first week, you're going to be able to do that. And so, sure enough, I gave her a couple of things, a couple of homeworks to take home with her, asked her to come back to me the next day and tell me what 12 principles of animation is. She was able to do that and run with it. And so based off of that, and she was saying like, hey, I don't really have a computer at home to work on it. Well, in a prior office, what would happen is we would read. When I was in college, I worked in a computer center. So I got a lot of like graveyard computers and laptops. We would put those together